Welcome back to Tech Dudes Weekly. I'm Brian.
I'm Dave.
We're going to be talking to you a little bit more again about Apple, our go-to topic. But in particular, this time we're going to talk about the 13-inch MacBook Pro, the new one with the M2 processor, and kind of see where that starts to fit into the Apple lineup. So, Dave, why don't you take this one here? Again, the big question is, where does it fit in the lineup, and where does it make sense? Where does it maybe not make sense?
Yeah, this one is kind of a weird one. There's a bunch of YouTubers out there. I mean, just media and everybody else talking about why does this thing even exist? I mean, it's kind of like an afterthought to me. That's kind of how I see it, or it's something of Apple just has to get Intel off this platform so they can put everything on the M1, M2, whatever iteration they're going to be on their processors. I think that's what it is. The common joke is they had a bucket of these things laying around. They go, oh, we got to use them because we can't send them overseas like the old Super Bowl T-shirts for the team who didn't win. That's kind of how I see this. I've got a bunch of unibody chassis, but I can't do anything with them.
It's in a weird spot too. I think price-wise too, isn't it? I mean, because you have the Air that I think you pre-order tomorrow, and comes
the
in
M2.
later this month, maybe a week later or so. And that one is coming into what, around $1,100 or so for the base model?
$11.99 for the base, and this comes in at $12.99.
$12.99, yeah, for the base. Now, granted, there's a big difference in number of ports that are available because the Air only has a handful of Thunderbolt ports. This thing has a few more, but certainly doesn't have the port density that the 14-inch MacBook Pro does with the M1 Pro processor. So it's in a weird spot. Still has the touch bar.
Yeah, and Apple swore this was everybody wanted it and everybody complained about it. It was a gimmick more than anything else. But the thing about this one that really gets me is, so the M1 13-inch MacBook Pro is actually faster on the base 256 gig model. The 8 gig, 256 gig model, it actually has a read speed of 2,900 megabits per second. The 13-inch MacBook Pro M2, 256 gig, same thing. It's just an M2 versus an M1. The read speed is cut in half. It goes the same thing for the write speed. On the M1, it was 2,215. On the 13-inch M2, now it's down at 1463. So again, close to half of what the speed is. And what they found out is, I'm pulling this is off of Mac Rumors. What they did was, on the base model of the M2 for the 13-inch MacBook Pro, they put one NAND instead of two. So the M2 has a single 256 gig NAND for storage. The M1, they actually put two 128 gig NANDs to give you 256. So you had twice the speed of the original. I don't know if this was a cost-cutting measure or what. I don't know, but why would you go to a faster processor and cut your read and write speeds in half?
Yeah, and then on the flip side too is that, at the $12.99 mark, I mean, you get the active cooling because there's fans in this where the Air doesn't have them. So I'm assuming what we'll see, and I think this is something we're going to follow up on ourselves in a later video when it's available, whether or not throttling on the MacBook Air brings down that M2 processor to its knees, on higher workloads. So, I mean, this gives you an M2 with an actual fan to help with that. But again, if you're going to hobble it on the storage side, it doesn't fit. I think, especially when the only thing I can see here is that it puts you into a little bit better, higher performance, without spending an extra $500 to $700, depending on the deal at the time, for the MacBook Pro 14-inch with the M1 Pro.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only way you get back to the original read and write speeds is if you go with the $14.99 version of this one that has a half terabyte, and most likely those have two 256 gig NANDs in them. So you get the same read and write speeds as the M1 did. The only thing I can think of why they did this would have been probably one of two things: cut costs or supply chain constraints. But I don't know if we'll ever really know the big difference or the real reason why that happened.
Because there's no difference at all in the screen, right? I mean, the chassis is identical, isn't it?
It is completely. Everything is in it except for it's an M2.
So it's basically what they did with the MacBook Air, the 2020 version, when the M1 first came out. It's like, okay, here's the old chassis, has a new processor.
Yep.
That's,
So
drop mic, we're done.
yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know why this thing exists. I don't think it should, in my personal opinion. I think it's just to get Intel off the platform and just move another piece out there. But people are buying it. I mean, there's reviews out there on this device talking about using it for video editing and everything. You've got a 14-inch. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's god awful faster than this on the M1 or the M2 versions, which is the one you're using right now. So I don't know. Tell us what you think down in the comments. I mean, is any of our viewers buying this? Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Let us know if you bought it. What was your configuration? If you've seen any, read or write performance of what we're seeing in some of the test benches here. I don't know.
I mean, for me, I think the best bang for the buck, granted, there's still a $400 discrepancy. And I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, no shakes at that at all. But if you can swing the extra $400, you can find a 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro processor with 16 gigs of RAM natively. I bought this one for $17.49, just watching for it to go on sale between Best Buy and Amazon. And I think that's still the best buy. And I don't think there's anybody out there that would say otherwise right now.
No, I don't think so. I think this is going to be old tech soon. I think they're going to phase this out. They're going to stay with the 14s and the 16s. I predict, my personal opinion, it'll be a 16-inch Pro, a 14-inch Pro, and then the 13 or 14-inch Air. I think that's how it's going to be. So,
right.
You tell us what you think.
And then, of course, who knows what all the rumors too out there, and we're going to follow up again when iPad OS 16 comes out, and where that starts to breach into this realm as well. Is it a laptop type thing with the multitasking with center stage, nothing, and or Stage Manager rather, nothing. But I've heard rumors of them going to a 15-inch screen potentially on an iPad. So I don't know. This was a weird one. I don't think this has a lot of longevity to it, like you said, and it's a gimmick as a placeholder. I'll say for 12 months.
I agree. And I think if, no offense to anybody out there who's watching us, I don't think you should buy it. I think it's a waste of money. But tell us what you think down in the comments. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, whether you liked it or loved it. And just tell us what you think.
Appreciate the time, everybody. And look forward to some more videos coming out shortly. And we'll follow this up. And I think the next one we'll see coming down the pike, again, we'll hopefully review that MacBook Air that's coming out with the M2 processor very soon.
Yep, I'm ordering it tomorrow. So